All right, so it's day one here at the Kunnin Orruk on our road to the Atlantic City Open over in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I spent most of my day working on the Wurgog Prophet and Wazgob, the Orc Shaman. I actually spent a lot of additional time in the preparation stage to get them ready to prime. I wasn't really prepared for that, and I should have thought better because the fine cast and metal cast models tend to have some manufacturing peculiarities. Specifically, both can tend to excrete a oil that makes it difficult for paint to adhere to the surface. So there could be some chipping a little bit later after you paint it, especially if you don't varnish, or even if you do in some cases. So it's always good to get some dish soap, water, and a toothbrush, an old one that you're not currently using, and give them a good scrub. After that, I spent a lot of time looking at the models themselves because there tends to be a few artifacts on the surface. They look like weird pixels that are kind of like stretched out a bunch, like when a game glitches out on a character model. And I snipped them out and filed them down, and also took some time to like look for mold lines where I could. And it just, really spent some time like combing over the model, looking at the details. And it really actually helped me familiarize myself a little bit more with what to kind of expect out of the model from, like, what does it need from a painter, right? That sounds really pretentious coming out of my mouth, actually, when I hear it out loud. But that's kind of like what I'm doing. I'm really trying to like visualize what I'm going to do painting wise for this model. Yeah, and it's something I've been trying to embrace with after watching painters like Dana Howe and Goonhammer. They tend to express kind of giving yourself this time to kind of like enjoy the process, right? You're like be in the moment, take a look at the model, and kind of like be absorbed in like how cool this is because it's fun. So, anyways, back to pruning and snipping. The models finally get themselves in a ready state, and I'm going to get them ready to prime. I use Vallejo primer, and I apply that with a brush. I have this superstition, and it's probably this false narrative that this allows me to get a thinner prime coat onto the model. In the past, when I primarily just used rattle cans to get a primer on, I tend to apply that a little bit too thick. So I believe this allows me to get a little bit more control out of priming my model, at least with that black base prime coat, if you will, before taking it over to a spray booth and giving it some white to do some zenithal type highlighting. I use a Rust-Oleum flat white paint. It's a 2X spray primer. And I'm super careful to make sure that I'm not overspraying onto the model. I've done that plenty of times to plenty of other models. I highly recommend if you are starting out, maybe take some time to learn how to use an airbrush. I don't know how to use an airbrush currently, and rather than frustrating myself trying to master a new skill, we're going to go with the old caveman ways here because I'm more comfortable with a brush and a rattle can. Either way, I still think I get pretty good results. I haven't been necessarily unhappy, and I've been able to learn, again, like I mentioned, how to kind of control that to make sure that I'm not obscuring any details by overspraying during the priming process. Really, really difficult. From there, or rather, it's super easy to overspray. We'll have to look at some models later. I have plenty of orcs, and part of the reason why I'm having to construct orcs is due to overspray. Enough on that. From there, I go and I take some non-oil and I start like kind of poking at specific recesses in the model to draw out some more contrast between the surface and the more deeper parts in the model. I'm a little messy with this. Traditionally, I would kind of just grab a pretty wide paintbrush, just dip the brush into the pot, and kind of just like gloss over the model in its entirety. The reason why I'm a little bit more reckless is because I do go back with a dry brush with some white and take the surfaces that have kind of been callously grayed over by my brutishness. I can bring those back to a more brighter value. This time, just thinking about painting as well as when it comes to scoring in a competition like the Atlantic City Open. I just want to be more purposeful where I can. And I think that purpose has paid off a little bit in the process. I think it's been pretty cool. I have the models here, even on camera with this front facing and like this light here, doesn't look bad. You get a lot of detail out of this view, and here's Wazgob. It's much, much smaller, and we'll do some creative stuff here to make sure that he's the correct size. I also have a photo I took with the camera and some lighting, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked on him. Solid first day. Tomorrow I'm going to work on getting some Savage Orcs built, possibly some Grots built as well. Haven't done that before, so that's exciting. And then definitely get some base coat colors on Wazgob. He is a model I'll be submitting for competition later on this month. So the more I can work on him earlier in the month, the better, because I do like to procrastinate. So excellent first day. I'll do this again tomorrow. And yeah, see you then.